Hey guys, welcome back to another stress talk. Uh, no, another talk about stress, right? And how we plan to eradicate, destroy it, and overcome all your stressors, right? Well, at least that's the goal. Now, of course, we've discussed before that the goal is to eradicate and eliminate. However, at the worst, we'll be able to manage all stress. That is very possible. That is what we do. And I know I'm capable of teaching you what to do because I do it daily. All right. Here's 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 something that I definitely wanted to bring up though. So I know we mentioned, how stress affects everybody in different ways. But we've also been discussing things a bit general, because we're leaning into it, and I definitely want to make sure that we kind of understand things before we jump off into specifics. However, this right here, I think, might be one of the most important things about stress that we need to keep in mind, and this knowing this will help you manage it, right? Or at least pay attention to it so that you kind of know what you're working towards and what you're trying to avoid. So stress actually puts your body into fight or flight, right? We've discussed that. But what it actually does is kind of it it activates cortisol, right? So cortisol, um, it's a response from your body when stress is brought forward. Like when it sees stress, right? It reacts to it. Now, what it does do, what cortisol does. So cortisol in itself is not bad, right? So what it's supposed to do, what it does, it increases alertness. Um, it mobilizes your energy. Well, but when it mobilizes your energy, it raises your blood sugar. All right, that's very important. It sharpens your focus, and it can help you respond to a challenge. That is what cortisol actually does to the body. Now, your body is not designed to be in a constant state of your cortisol being activated. When that is the case, that leads to many, 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 many illnesses, right? Um, Now, a big one of that, let me looking up some quick information here. Just want to make sure we narrow this down together properly, right? So now, remember, it comes from stress, right? That's the trigger. The trigger is stress. So your body sees the stress, the cortisol is released, and you jump into making yourself essentially, you kind of put yourself in a fighter's position, which is why I'm watching some fighters, right? You see it in the background. And it allows you to like fight through the problem, get it resolved. However, if you're not paying attention to the fact that you did change and that your body is now going through the stress and the cortisol is activated, then you won't do things to calm it down or to get rid of it or to stop it. And when you don't do that, when it's unresolved, when it's constant, then you absolutely become sick, right? Right? So common signs, and it's very difficult, especially the first one, right? Common signs is fatigue, right? Because I'll be honest with you right now, a lot of us are tired of a lot of things, right? We have several different types of fatigues going on if you go through the internet. But seriously, fatigue is a huge one, and the reason why is because your body is it's kind of like, what it's like. It's like running a drill. If you've ever operated a drill, a power drill, a hand drill, right? And you keep it at its highest level for a long period of time, it will burn out. You'll start smelling the smokes, and eventually the drill burns out because it just runs too hot, because the performance is just too high, right? And it's kind of what happens to your body. It's working hard, it's working hard, and it just burns out, right? And so the fatigue kicks in, and unfortunately, when the fatigue kicks in, there's a lot of things that you don't do, right? You kind of, you're no longer active, right? As active as you used to be, and all you can think about now is just potentially getting some sleep, getting some sleep, getting some sleep. The problem with that, though, is that if the stress did not go away, then your body's constantly still trying to fight it, right? So the sleep that you're trying to get, realistically, you might even sleep, lay down and sleep, but you wake up tired. That's a huge problem, right? Anxiety, that's another one, because anxiety, though, it's kind of like your body is already reacting to the outcome in your mind before the outcome happens, right? And that right there, is why anxiety is so dangerous, right? Because it's you, it's what you think is going to happen next. So that's really what you're reacting to. That in itself is absolutely dangerous because it didn't happen, right? It didn't happen yet. So instead of putting the negative outcome in your mind and stressing over it, put a positive outcome in your mind. That way you're not stressed. And if you prepare for something, then there's no reason to stress. And for the things that you cannot control, you have to understand you can't control them. And for the things that surprise you, you have to understand it as a part of life. You are going to get surprised. There are going to be things that you've never seen before. But if you go back to the system that we're trying to create right now together with how to handle stress, you will be fine. Because as long as you don't, I guess this is kind of cliche, as long as you don't stress out about the stress, you can actually keep a level head and work through any situation, right? Now, this right here is a huge reality, and it's happening more and more because, unfortunately, we're all being stressed out more and more by different things in our environment, right? The government, jobs, children, all sorts of things. And what your body does, because it's in survival mode when your cortisol is activated and you're stressed out, it stores belly fat, right? Because that's a part of essentially keeping you alive, right? So this is your body just really trying to make sure that you survive as long as you possibly can. So that's a part of it. Holds on to belly fat. So a lot of times it's there, your belly is protruding, but the rest of your body is telling a whole different story. It'll be like, hey, this person actually looks mostly healthy, but here comes this belly, that's hanging out there. A lot of that oftentimes is cortisol, and stress eating. That's a huge one. That's a huge one. A lot of people do stress eat. And unfortunately your body's holding on to that because it feels like it's in protection mode. You get sicker quicker, and more often because your immune system goes down because of increased cortisol. But so definitely you want to be cognizant of the fact that it has been activated. So which is why what we discussed in the first installment was to do meditation. The meditation is absolutely necessary to make sure you get out of that activated cortisol mode, so that your body doesn't start shutting down on you after a while, right? Now, this up. With the increased sugar, right? I'm gonna leave you with this little tidbit right here. It is more and more common now, and I think it's something that people should pay attention to. This is pretty huge. This is pretty bad, right? I'm gonna say this part right here, and then I'll hit you with the positive, because that's what we're about. We're about positives, but we're also about reality, right? Super important. So, because of the increased sugar, if not treated, if you don't get your cortisol down, great chance that you will be pre-diabetic, or you'll become diabetic. Unfortunate, yep. But if you don't realize that you're stressed and you don't start working at your stress, this could be one of the outcomes, right? And we all know how bad diabetes is. We're not going to jump down into everything. We'll leave that for another day. But for right now, please understand, stress leads to your cortisol being activated, and when it is activated, your body is in fight mode, which is great. Because that's what you should do. You should get ready to put them dukes up. Put them dukes up. People still say that, right? People say that. Maybe not. But definitely want to get in fighter mode. Get ready to knock them out, right? That's the idea. But if you can't do this by yourself, we do have a self-help book that is coming out. Don't you worry, it is free, so that you can at least start reading through it, find some coping methods to help you through, because what we do here is we fight stress, and we come up with we have tools that we use, orthodox and unorthodox methods, to keep your stress level down and get focused on finishing the problem, right? You're paying attention to the problem itself and not the stress behind the problem. We don't want to waste time. We just want to go ahead, acknowledge what it is, start working on fixing it, move forward, achieve our goals, because that's what we're about. And like I said, here's a promise that I made. I'm going to keep that promise, is that as we continue to work together, at the end of it all, you'll be more prosperous and more wealthy. That is absolutely the promise that I've made, and I'm going to stick to it. Call me glue. Don't call me glue. That'd be kind of weird, but we're going to stick to it. All right. Hey, man, listen, I have another one loaded up for you coming soon. But for right now, everybody enjoy it. Pay attention to the stress. Once you realize you are actively being stressed out, then we need to start going ahead, start them breathing exercises, get to that meditation, because meditation is medication. It is what it is. All right, guys.